Corno?
Ralph Corno?
Lovely
Probably
guy.
Ralph Corno.
That sounds right.
That's it. It was Ralph.
And then they also had the commander. He died maybe a couple of years after Vet Rock. He was the commander of the VFW in Atlantic City.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we were out to dinner with him the night before.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah. He was a good. He wanted to do a lot of stuff in Atlantic City.
Yeah, that's how you moved to Ventnor.
But he would do whatever Ford told him.
Did he really?
Said whatever. I had all the paperwork for the whole event. I had contracts with Oliver North, all the
Yeah, I heard
bands,
that,
and he said, "You guys it's a scam."
I can't believe he had no right getting involved in that anyway. None. Well, that's why of the three names you just mentioned, two of them are no longer members of the VFW. They've been officially removed by National.
Right.
Yeah. So if it goes to tell you anything.
We're pretty close, right?
Yeah. Almost there. You got your phone? Oh, who did I just work with last night was telling me about you doing his taxes. Oh, Brian Adams.
Brian Adams, that's the one.
18,000. He was crying a little bit. Yep.
And welcome to Intel Studios Veterans Matter broadcast, the first live stream broadcast strictly for veterans and active duty military in the tri-state, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania areas. Veterans Matter is produced by Al Zentmeyer and Jerry Fournier and is an Intel Studios production. Now, live from our studio in Northfield, New Jersey, your host, Veterans Advocate Mike Merlino. Good afternoon, and we welcome all of our audience, and it is our hope that today's broadcast will assist or enlighten you, and at the very least, let you know that there is help for you if needed. If you want friends to participate in our broadcasts, they need to go to our website, veteransmatternj.com, click on the Our Shows circle, then click on Subscribe. You can also go directly to YouTube, hit the search button, and type in Intel Studios live stream, then scroll down, and in the options, you'll see Veterans Matter. During the broadcast, I'll announce when our phone lines are available. That phone number is 609-798-4475, and please be patient as the calls will be answered in the order they appear. Now let me introduce our guests for today. A very good friend of mine. We actually both are do so much work for veterans in our area. Brian Weiner, a United States Navy veteran. Brian, welcome to Veterans Matter.
Mike, thank you.
And Brian's dad, Norm Weiner, a United States Army veteran. Welcome to Veterans Matter, Norm.
Thank you, Mike.
You know, Brian, You appeared, I guess it had to be 2 or 3 years now, when I was on public radio over at Stockton. But what I want to do for our listeners, I want to take you back to when you were in high school.
Say what?
And
Bad move.
you're graduating high school, and you got to make a decision what you want to do with the rest of your life.
I did.
What made you decide to enlist in the military?
There's a short little story prior to that. It's a good thing he's next to me. He'll attest to this. Wasn't the best of students. However, I tried. I went on to college. Didn't pan out as well as I thought it was going to. They sent me a go home early notice, so that I did. And at that point, I'd realized I'd kind of lost a little direction. It was time for me to do something with myself. So my uncle, who was a senior chief at the time, decided that he was going to take me to the recruiter, and off I went.
Now, why Navy and not the Army?
Because my uncle was in the Navy, apparently. And besides, I didn't know much about the Army or the Navy. I know I love the ocean. I like being at sea. I enjoy that stuff. So that's one of the main reasons I chose the Navy.
Norm, you're an Atlantic City boy.
Yes.
Went to Atlantic City schools. You graduated from Atlantic City High School in '56.
Right.
16 years before I graduated from Atlantic City High School. I was 72. It was an odd time in our nation's history. We had been out of World War II and had fought a war in Korea that looked like it was going to be endless at the time. Matter of fact, everybody who serves in Korea today is considered a Korean War vet because it's only a ceasefire.
Only a season, right. There's never been an end.
Norm, you're coming out of high school. What made you decide to enlist?
Well, when I got out of high school, I looked ahead, and really there was nothing out there for me for to do. So I figured, it seemed like the Army, the service, was the best move for me. So as soon as I got out of high school, I went down to the recruiter and signed up. I was 19 at the time, so I didn't need my parents' signature. And from there, it just went on. So I went to Fort Dix, then went on to Fort Knox, and then Fort Gordon, then Fort Bliss, and then on to the land of the frozen chosen.
You were in the military, looks like 56 to 59.
That's correct.
Then you spent a lot of years working utilities. It's interesting to me. And Brian might be able to relate to this because I spent 10 years in the Weiner Fire Department. And all during my time there, we drill in the morning, we come in, and always, every day without fail, there was utility workers would come into the firehouse and sit around a table. They were either electric company, phone company, gas company, and they'd have lunch.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I realized, talking to these utility workers and to the officers who were in the fire department at the time, is that they all had one thing in common. They were all veterans. It was unbelievable that it just showed me something then that I didn't really take to, and that was that the utilities, the municipalities knew who were the best people to hire. There's something about a veteran. It's the discipline they bring to the job.
Certainly.
They're going to be there, and I would have to believe in your 20 years with the electric company, there had to be just so many veterans participate.
That's true. It doesn't show the 15 years I spent on a private contractor before I went to work for the electric company. So after 20 years with the electric company, there was everybody that was the place to go. The Bell Telephone, the gas company, the electric company was like a good job. best job in the city. So a lot of people from the veterans joined. I mean, they enlisted or however you want to put their name up, and they were different parts of the electric company. A lot of them, this and that. They took their trade from the Army or the Navy or whoever and came to the electric company with the same trade. So they knew what they were doing when they got in, which was very helpful.
You know, you have 4 children.
Yes.
Is any of them besides Brian
As good
serving
looking
in
as
the
me?
military?
No, no.
Yeah. My other son was in the Marines. He was Marine Reserve, and a girl and my daughter and my other son. No, he was a surfer, so he didn't he didn't care too much for the military.
You know,
But then-
I have something I want to play before I get into this
Oh, great.
segment of the show. Let me just.
I'm not anticipating Barry Manilow, am I?
You got to turn the volume.
Got it up.
Can you hear it? I don't hear it.
I think it's going over there.
I think his phone's hooked up to his.
Well, why would I play that?
I don't
You
know.
It's amazing. You know, Brian, I look at your bio, and I know that you and Norm, as their grandfather, have to be so proud of your son and your daughter. Your daughter enlisted in the Marine Corps.
She certainly
How is
did.
she doing?
She is unbelievably fantastic. She's still stationed in New Orleans. As you know, she's a soloist and a singer with the Marine Corps Band. She's also a mixed martial arts McMap instructor, what they call the mixed. I'm not sure what the Marine calls, but their McMap program. She's very involved in that. She's certainly she's very proud of her. Very proud of her. She's
Yeah.
done very well. She's an E5 now. She's a sergeant down there, and she's got 2 enlistments under her belt.
Now, Brian, there's quite a few Marine Corps bands, correct?
Yes, there's about 6. I believe there's about 6 or 7 of them.
Because every year when the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation dinner, that Marine Corps band marches in, gets up on stage, and does the Marine Corps hymn.
Oh, there's something else.
Yeah,
They are something else.
They're the Marine Corps band from Washington.
That's
yeah,
well,
I would say.
that's the president's own.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, of the other bands are fantastic. They are just something to see. She does public information with them. She's their PAO. She's very excited what she's doing. She's taken advantage of tuition assistance and her GI Bill. Thank you to all the veterans who fought for that for us. And she's now looking at Creighton University, becoming a physician's assistant.
Wow.
And she's busting her backside to do what she can do and achieve what she can so she can take care of her future. And of course, my son.
Well, the last time I talked to you, he was in the West Point.
He was still there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
He
he's
was
since
still at West Point.
graduated. He is now a 2nd lieutenant. He's a first lieutenant. He's in Korea right now, at the same base my father was at.
Not far from it.
50 years ago, pretty much.
Wow.
So he's there now, and he's coming home in 3 weeks to go to captain's course in Fort Leonard Wood, and he's up for promotion to captain. And he too will be staying in for quite a while. As an engineer, he enjoys what he's doing, and I'm so proud of him.
I know you
It
got to
doesn't
be.
stop. You just glow every time you think about it.
It's
you know?
one of the things I loved following on Facebook was what your children were doing. I thought that was just so great
Well, thank
to
you. I
see our
appreciate it.
young people.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? They grew up in the VFWs. They grew up in the American Legions. They busted tables. They were always around. They were around it from day one. And I believe having our influences with what we've done in the service and growing up in that environment. They always knew from day one, college or the service. That's your choice. You figure it out. You got plenty of years to figure it out, and he knocked it all out. And
Right. And
one attempt.
as you mentioned, the post 9/11 GI Bill is
Oh,
just
it's phenomenal.
fantastic. And it's great to see them take advantage
Sure.
of that.
Absolutely.
Now, Brian, there's part of your bio that interests me, and I'd like to get a little more information, if you would. You were on board the USS John F. Kennedy. Now,
Yes, sir.
What kind of ship was that?
That was an aircraft
It
carrier.
was an aircraft carrier.
Yes.
And you were in support of Operation Southern Watch in the
Right.
Persian Gulf. Exactly. What was the timing of that?
At that point, it was in 98, 99. It's about a year or so before I'd gotten out, where we were over there, and we were just monitoring different parallels and some numbers to where you couldn't see any activity, electronic activity being activated around those areas. That's mainly what I did, was just monitor those.
It was still a dangerous place to be at the time.
Oh, it certainly
correct?
was. Absolutely, it was. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of exactly when the U.S. coal bombing.
99, I believe.
That was, I think it was October 2000.
Was it?
Were you still in the military then?
No, I'd just gotten out. I got out actually March of 2000. I believe I was technically into March, but I believe I was out before that. And I think that's when it happened. So I believe you're right. It was in that time frame.
Yeah, horrible.
Absolutely.
Horrible event.
Absolutely.
And yeah, to the Middle East during that time, I guess all of our ships were on alert all the time.
We were all the time.
Yeah.
It was a hostile environment. Bin Laden was constantly getting everybody stirred up at the time. And anytime we were on liberty, we always had to keep our eyes out for the helicopters flying the flags, which means get back to the ship. And it happened almost every port we pulled into
Really?
during that cruise. It was 1999 to 2000. I was deployed over the Y2K, that January 1st date, where
Right.
we thought we were all going to just instantly die that night. So we were all waiting for it. And of course, nothing happened. But that's we were deployed during that. Yeah, we were not welcomed with open arms to really many of our countries that we visited in the Middle East at that time.
You got many commendations. When it says here, because I'm not sure, the Navy confuses me of all the branches in the military. When it says here you were selected as the senior enlisted intel officer for command carrier, what was your rank at that time?
I was an E5 at the time.
So-
I was the only enlisted with the staff at that time.
I hate that designation, E5. What
Yeah.
was it really?
I was a second class petty officer. I was an electronic warfare technician, second class.
You know,
The E5,
Norm,
that's
you
your
ha-
business. That's your business.
during the time when Brian was serving over in the Middle East, you were already retired, right? Just retired.
Yeah, just retired.
And it must have been a harrowing time, knowing that he was in harm's way. But you're a military family, right? And the guy, your brother, was it, that
Yeah.
got you to go into the
Yes,
Navy?
it was,
Is he
yeah.
still alive today?
Unfortunately, he passed 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was Veterans Day, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, incidentally, it
Yeah,
was
about
Veterans
3 years.
Day. He passed away about 3 years ago. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let's move to something else, because one of the things that I loved about you guys was, and I know it didn't happen overnight. Norm, you were involved for years with the VFW. I can remember back when we did Vet Rock 2013, you were a part of District 16 staff. And when you got involved with the VFW, Brian, did you ever think at that time that you'd ever be state commander?
Absolutely not. And I had no desire To me, that was just entirely too much, an awful lot of work. And no, I never thought I had really what it took to be able to handle that job in the first place.
Norm, were you ever involved at the state level during your time with the VFW?
Yes, I was like a inspector for District 16. I was in charge of stand down in the state, so I was still involved within the state. I knew a lot of people in the state, and that's like when you get back to him on Commander. That was a big thing with me and my wife. We made a bet that he wouldn't make it, or she made a bet he wouldn't make it. And I said, "Well, I don't know," but he stepped to the plate. He did it. He did it, and he did a very good job. He might not think so, but he did an excellent job with the time.
Norm, you mentioned something, and I want to make sure our listeners are aware of exactly what it is. When they talk about standbys or stand down, what are they talking about?
Homeless vets. We just came off a homeless vet stand down in Atlantic City, where we are just part of the stand down process. The VA is there, and
The Legion.
the American Legion's there, DAV's there, and we're just a part. You came in and we supplied you with like coffee, donuts, a sandwich or something before you went in to get your equipment or something like that. Now another one's coming up in Cherry Hill. That's next Friday, and the same thing. They go around in buses and pick up vets. They have areas where the vets will be. The buses will pick them up, bring them back to the armory in Cherry Hill. They'll come through a process through the VA, make sure that they're all accounted for and they have VA approval. They'll come through, we'll give them coffee and stuff, then they go on, they'll get a haircut, free haircuts, they get all kinds of clothes, medical checkup. Now, I've been there and they checked up a couple people, and within seconds they had an ambulance there picking them up because they were really in bad shape. So the stand down does work for homeless vets.
That was my question. Does it work? Okay.
Yeah.
It does work, and
Yeah.
you got to give a big shout out to American Legion member Bob Luby. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bob Luby, Mike.
I was going to mention him because you guys
he
are
is
so
fantastic.
close.
Yeah.
He's a
Fantastic
great
guy. I
advocate.
love Bob, and he's the backbone to the state stand downs, and he runs them all over the state. He was just awarded nationally by the American Legion for his work. Guy's second to none.
Let me ask you a question, because when I first started getting involved, and I hear it all the time, Mike, what do you do it for? What? You're not
Can't
a veteran.
explain
Well, my dad was a World War II vet. I lost two uncles in World War II. My brother's a Vietnam vet. He served in the Air Force at Takli Air Base in Thailand.
Wow.
They used to fly the payroll into Saigon. This is 66 to 68, where they're under mortar fire all the time. And he always told the story about trying to pay guys to take his flights in. But what's amazing is, just like in Vietnam, in Thailand, in the air bases, they used Agent Orange, and he's suffering to
Sure.
a couple illnesses, and he got turned down by the VA maybe 10 years ago, and it so discouraged him that until recently he reached out to Pat Carney
Fantastic.
to get some help.
Good. He couldn't have chose a better person to reach out to.
But right now, which brings me to this point, when I started getting involved as a veterans advocate, and I had gone to Atlantic City, and at that point, it was mostly Vietnam veterans that were homeless. And you reach your hand out to them, they were like, hey, 30 years ago when I wanted to help, nobody was there for me. And it was so sad.
A lot of resentment harbored.
Let me ask you guys something, since you're so involved in this today. Are we starting to see a lot of Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan veterans homeless?
That's a good question. No, I don't think we've tracked that part of the, like Desert Storm.
As the VFW, we
Yeah.
certainly don't on numbers. But I mean, I'm sure as time goes by, I mean, it's been quite a while since the initial kickoff of Desert Storm, and a lot of those people up around that age where they mix in. You can't really quite tell. I mean, even as a fireman, we respond to medical calls all the time. I always ask, are you a veteran? You have a VA card. Always ask, and I'll make calls right there to make sure that he's taken care of properly.
It's so sad, but I'm so thankful that because of what our Vietnam veterans went through, I don't think it'll ever happen to another generation of our military.
You're absolutely right.
I hope not. I would hope not.
I'm going to bring you to today because it's going to fall right in line. For a long time, we talked about 22 veterans a day committing suicide. Horrible statistic. And one thing I realized back when I was on public radio, I wanted to see where this started at. 22 veterans a day. And believe it or not, it went all the way back to 1964. Our young Korean and Vietnam veterans were starting way back then. And it's continued now for a good 57 years of 22 veterans a day. What just transpired in Afghanistan, you got to believe that our Afghanistan veterans sitting at home have got to feel just a little bit worthless at this point.
100%. And not just worthless. I mean, they lost their battles. A lot of these guys lost their battle buddies there with them. And now they're looking at it for what? Why? And that's the thing you hear a lot of now. The vet centers are absolutely picking up their business, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, you see, I've had quite a few Iraq and Afghanistan war vets sitting across from me doing the show. And I would have to say more than half of them had their friends, their buddies killed in action. And to see today that our politicians are so quick to leave there, to lose so much. On the night that they were pulling out of Afghanistan, I won't mention his name because he's still active duty. He's stationed in Italy, but he got in contact with me. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and begging me, Mike, will you please reach out to Congressman Van Drew in his office? And there were 3 or 4 names of people he worked with in Afghanistan. He spent almost 8 years in Afghanistan. Wow. And of course, the Americans had many friends in the tribes. You couldn't make it work without them.
Yeah, right.
And there were 3 or 4 families that he begged, and we tried. The Department of State would not move at all. They didn't. I would use the term that they didn't seem to care.
Sure.
But if they did, they certainly didn't make an effort to get them out. And it's a shame. I just saw an article today where the Taliban is slaughtering these families.
It's absolutely disgusting. Just talking about it is absolutely, it literally raises my blood pressure. It's something that, again, you go back to the veterans who served there and look at what they're doing now, not only to the interpreters and their families. We've been trying for years. The VFW has been exploring the option of bringing the interpreters over here with some assistance in their visa process. Now, I say some assistance, not offering full visas by no means. But this is one of the things we were looking into. And we just couldn't get any movement in it. Government-wise, we couldn't get any movement with it. And now here we are.
Very sad.
It is sad. It's extremely sad. And I think there's a lot of angry folks, a lot of angry veterans out there, Mike.
Yeah.
And you talk about 22 veterans a day. You always remember the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. That's the Veterans Crisis Line. If you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling as if you have to talk about something, call that number. It's available to all veterans at any time, 24/7.
You know, I've been very lucky in the last maybe 10 or 11 years. I've gotten to work with they were peer mentors for
Okay.
the Wounded Warriors Project. One, a very good friend of mine, Eddie Afanador, and I can remember on spending a Christmas Eve day. We started about 6 o'clock in the morning, headed down to D.C., went to Goldman Sachs, picked up, we had a pickup truck just loaded with bags of gifts. The Wounded Warrior Project would find veteran families that could not afford to have Christmas.
Wow. Okay.
And we spent Christmas Day driving all over Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and delivering gifts to families that weren't
Yeah.
going to have Christmas.
That's fantastic.
And what a great feeling it was. And it's really what built on my heart to help veterans, because when I used to see the faces of these guys, these strong men that fought and were out there in the front lines in Iraq or Afghanistan, and they were broken human beings that didn't think that their family was going to have a Christmas, and to help them see their eyes light up.
Yeah.
And it was just...
And when people ask you why you do what you do, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Like there's something you can't.
My producer, Al, and I, we've been friends since the late 70s. Started out, we played softball together.
Sorry, Al.
We played softball together, and then one night, Al got invited me to an athlete speak out up at the Valley Forge Music Center. And what it was, this was like around 1983. And the Phillies had won the World Series in 80. The Sixers won the NBA championship in 82. The Flyers had one in 74 and 75. So there was and it was all Christian athletes. And it just lit a spark in us at the time. And what we ended up doing, we spent 25 years together. We formed a local huddle group for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Okay.
And formed our own nonprofit called Christian Sports and Entertaining Program. And we spent the next 25 years, we were the only people besides NFL Films that was able to video on the sidelines.
Really?
How did the video
Get
work?
out of here.
I did all the still photography
Yeah.
and locker room interviews. So we did this for 25 years. And then September 11th, 2001, I'm sitting in my office when my wife calls me and says, "Mike, are you listening to the news?" I'm like, "No, what's the problem?" She said, "A plane just flew into the Trade Center." I said, "Well, was it a small plane or was it an airliner?" She says, "I think it's an airliner." I said, "Wow." I said, "That's crazy." She said, "Oh my God, Mike, a second plane just went." I said, "We're under attack." I closed my office. I went home. I spent the day on my knees. And then I realized our heroes aren't between the white lines. Our heroes are the men and women that put the uniform on and protect our liberties and our freedoms. Absolutely. And it was right around then I started getting involved in like Rolling Thunder motorcycle group, and then we formed the Legion Riders, and it's been nonstop since. Yeah. And it's one thing I tell you guys, that I thank you so much for your service, and my family does, because we understand that every liberty, every freedom we enjoy today is because of the sacrifices that you guys have made.
And many others, and many others. And thank you, because we look at you the same way. You help the history chapters stay alive. And without people like you, we start to lose the value of our veterans. And and the history and the historical value of our veterans.
Well, I appreciate
thank
that.
you.
And I'm going to talk to you about something, Brian, that's very personal to you. And I'm hoping it's rectified in the near future. As a member of the Atlantic City Fire Department, back a couple of years ago, I'm not sure exactly the date, but I can remember you called me up on the phone saying, "Mike, you're not going to believe this, but City of Atlantic City is, they've gotten rid of civil service, and they're no longer giving veterans preference, and it ended up costing you a promotion."
Certainly did.
I don't care what they call it. To me, it's pure politics. It's no different than when Dan Mitchell, the Northfield police officer, lost the chance to become chief because then Mayor Mazzeo decided to use his military career against him. I think it's just
disgusting.
a horrible
Terrible thing to do. Terrible thing.
Do you think now, Brian, with the advent of bringing civil service back to the city, you have an opportunity to get that promotion?
I would believe so. I would certainly believe so. I certainly hope so. Almost 21 years on the job. Been around a little bit. I've taken this test several times in the past. Not quite ready for it yet. But however, now, I certainly believe so. And it was. Atlantic City had no program for veterans implemented for employment, for promotion, nothing within themselves. They have no veterans programs whatsoever to help those veterans at work. And there's no point system, no employment, no, like I said, nothing there. There's nothing, there's no boilerplate, no white paper, nothing even thought of or are they working on. It's just it's not of significance. And it's unfortunate. And as active as I've been in my position with the VFW, I would hope that the city would have changed, or at least try to change with the fire department. Ask me, what is it that we can do? How can we do this? And never happened. And I've submitted papers, I've submitted ideas, never received return calls or any kind of correspondence.
Sad.
It is sad, Mike. It is sad.
I can remember after you told me this, and I was at a Legion Riders meeting, and I stood up during a part that's for the good of the order, and I told the veterans what was going on. Norm, not just being his dad, but being an older veteran, it's gotta just get you,
Yeah, I'm like sometimes I go to things. He don't like me to talk because I speak my mind. Whether it bother you or them, I don't care. And the city of Atlantic City, I remember I grew up in Atlantic City. I grew up in Bungalow Park. There used to be about, I think, at the time, maybe 12 or 15 firehouses. Now they're down to 6, and they don't have any fire engines in them because none of them work. They had to go, it's on Facebook, they had to go to Margate and borrow a fire engine from Margate from, I think, 2014 or something like that. I mean, it was an open-air fire truck.
That's the one we borrowed from Ventnor.
Oh, from Weiner. Well, they,
Yeah, the other one is Margate.
The city is so far laxed in maintenance and what they do with their equipment. They just don't care. Let it run until it falls apart, and then that's it. They don't have. I think I have 3 fire engines now on order because I think from Trenton.
They're mandated.
Yeah, mandated
Mandated by
now
the governor
to get new equipment. Otherwise, they probably would still be using somebody's out-of-date fire engine. I mean, if you ever gone into some of these firehouses, I mean, it's a disgrace. I mean, lead paint is falling off. They're eating dinner. It's falling off into their foods. They sleep. They wake up and they're loaded with lead paint. I mean, it's absolutely disgrace. I mean, I wouldn't even take nobody in the firehouse. And this is supposed to be one of the biggest cities or something in the city, in the state, and they got the worst equipment in the world.
Yeah, it's horrible. I can remember going back into the, I guess it was the mid-'70s. I had already had a little bit of college, so whenever the officers in the fire department needed things typed up or done, they always came to me. And I can remember the older officers always telling me, fire department is just a necessary evil. The city fathers really couldn't care less. You know, they treat the police department, you know, like gold. They
You're
just
right,
want the
you're
fire
right.
department to disappear.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. You are
Yeah.
right.
It's sad because you know what? Every single call that a fireman goes on, their life's in danger.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, so I know I appreciate fire department, the police department, and I certainly think it's warranted that they would give veterans preference, and then again disabled veterans preference. When you know, I actually got hurt when I was a fireman. I started in Ventnor under the CETA program, which was a provisional, and I went in there. I worked for a year, and then my brother-in-law, you might know him, Duke McCarran.
No,
He was best friends with the old chief of Atlantic City, Billy Brooks.
oh, Billy Brooks. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So Dennis came home from Thailand with an ulcer and got
That's not a
got
good thing to come home
disabled
with.
veteran
Thailand.
status, and ended up. We took the test together. He ends up number 1 on the list. I got him in there provisional
Yeah.
a year after I had been in there, and he ended up getting a permanent position ahead
Yeah.
of me. But you know what? It's
Nice,
very
nice.
difficult to be upset about something like that.
Sure.
We had a captain in the firehouse at the time. His name was Dominic Vitanza, and he was a Korea War veteran, and he had been shot in the buttocks. And we all, I used to drive him crazy. I always just say, Dominic, which way were you running when you got shot? You know? But I'm glad to see that the city has changed and you have a good opportunity
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I would hope so. I think a lot of people are kind of feel a little more relieved that civil service is in. Listen, not to say that a lot of those guys who were promoted didn't deserve it. The majority of them were more than deserving. They're great firemen in Atlantic City. However, there were a couple incidences where it kind of upset me a little bit, but it's gone in the past. And again, you know, I've been through worse. I'm grateful to have my job. You know, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm good. And I don't have much time to harbor much resentment, Mike.
Brian, what I'd like you to do is let our listening audience know what you've been doing from the beginning with the Department of the VFW.
Oh, okay. Well, with the VFW, Mike, I've been a member for about 21 years. I joined a brigantine, and of course, immediately right off the bat, you go into an office, and I think it was just a small office for the post, an officer, and donated my time, and then I start to see what we actually did for veterans, and being that I had just gotten out of the service, it was very fresh. I missed my buddies, I missed my friends, I missed the guys I was away with, and to see us all come together and actually accomplish something for a veteran, a fellow veteran, is pretty rewarding. And in fact, we did have a member in Brigantine who had lost everything, and you know the community got together and the post got together and pretty much took care of everything for him, put him in a new home, got him all new furniture, and took care of his rent for quite some time. And to see that actually happen was pretty overwhelming to me. And I've been a part of it ever since, and it's something I enjoy. I've got a vested interest in what I was doing because of my children and, of course, my father, and I want to make sure they're taken care of. And, 1914, when the veterans came home from the war, they were shorted their $15 pay. You know, veterans were supposed to receive their $15 separation pay when they came home World War I, 1914. Well, they didn't get that. They didn't get their pay, and they had to fight for it. So the veterans at that time joined together and fought, hence the VFW. And that was the history of the VFW. And you see it today. What happened in 1914 is happening today. We just got a phone call the other day from a veteran in Summers Point who has a family in Summers Point. He's in the Coast Guard. They had mold in their place. Their family was very sick. They found mold. They put him out. They couldn't live there, and the landlord or the insurance wouldn't cover the claim because apparently the mold was there before they had moved in, so they won't cover it. So now they got to move out. They're at a friend's house on mattresses, air mattresses, and they got 3 kids. Are driving to school from Barnegat Light. This guy's deployed in the Coast Guard. So again, they called out to the VFW post, and everybody jumped in, including Bob's Furniture. A big shout out to Bob's Furniture in Mays Landing, who donated furniture to this family. So again, it's just something you see, and that's kind of attracted me to the organization ever since. And again, take care of my kids and make sure that they're legislatively and medically taken care of as they get older. I started becoming an officer, running for office. I was a post commander, a district commander, and eventually I started running into the state offices.
Were you commander in Cardiff before?
No.
No.
No. I was involved in the chairs, running through the state chairs at that time. I was doing a lot of community activities. I was the community activity chairman, where we monitor post community activities. They need to be performing community activities. And I started to monitor all these reports from every single post. I'm getting 250 a month, and I'm looking at them like there's not a lot going on. It kind of bothered me personally to see these posts, cars in and out. There's not a lot happening in there. And my goal was to see that change. So over the years of doing that community activities as chairperson, I started getting involved with these posts and kind of egging them on and challenging them to do some more things, and it changed. It actually made a significant difference. And as I see the differences being made with what we as advocates are doing for our veterans and our active duty, it just becomes more attractive to me. And that's when I jumped in the seats to run for state officer. And wasn't quite sure I was going to be able to make it working full-time at the fire department with kids, and wasn't sure that was going to be an easy thing to do, but as a challenge I wanted to do. I wanted to make a difference. I still do every day. I want to make a difference. However, COVID had shut my year down, and there wasn't much we could do, period. Legislatively, we couldn't get to D.C. We couldn't get together amongst ourselves. However, what I did do was go to the nursing homes up in Paramus and Menlo Park. When we lost so many veterans in those nursing homes, within a several weeks span, getting involved with a lot of the legislators, attorneys, and families up north, staying in conversation with all of them even to this day, talking with Newsweek Journal often about this because they've been covering this from day one. And I would like to think that all of us collectively, the VFW, the Legion, the DAV, all the organizations collectively made a difference in restructuring the command with DMAVA to properly suit the hospital's needs. Most of the hospital directors or CEOs had no medical experience. They were just put in a position, whether they were a handshake or a deal. I don't know what it was, but regardless of what it was, they shouldn't have been in those spots. However, that's since been taken care of, and I believe Colonel Howell right now, General Howell will be a fantastic change into the organization, and she's a big friend of all the organizations, and we're definitely very happy to see that take place. But to stay involved with these families, a lot of these families still email me who lost their loved one, just to talk. They just like to voice themselves because we've been there for so long as a sounding board, and it's just something we enjoy doing. And now that my year as state commander is done and I'm back home, I'd really like to stay involved locally. I'm still the state's legislative director. However, I'd like to be more involved here within our own community. We have so many veterans right here.
Yeah, I want our listening audience to know that if you have a question for Brian or for Norm, you could call us at 609-608-798-4475. That's 609-798-4475, and we'll take your calls as they come in. Brian, let me ask you a question because I got an email, and if anybody doesn't have access to a phone line, you can always email me at IRSKILL. That's IRSKILL. I'm an accountant at AOL.com.
You got to throw that. I'm an accountant.
So I got an email. We talk about this all the time at our rider meetings. those who are of the political persuasion. And Bob from Mays Landing wants you to go over VFW report cards. Every year, just before elections, the State Department of VFW comes up with a report card for
State and federal.
and it always bothered me, especially when Chris Brown was up for election, and decorated war veteran, and a guy like Vince Mazzio would get a better report card because he was in the majority party. You know,
Yes.
are they still doing that?
They just restarted it this year. Completely different entity is going to be handling that now. Completely different entity. That's going to be handled out of the Trenton office. They're going to start the report cards again, and they're in process of doing that now. This is not going to be a political affiliated report card. This is going to be
That would be great,
unbiased,
because
and
it's-
it will have behind it all the legislature that they've all sponsored, co-sponsored, or approved. They're all going to be on there. So it's not just going to be an A, B, and C, because you're going to have some.
But the problem, Brian, with the way they do things is if you're Steve Sweeney and Vince Maggio is up for election, and even if it was Chris Brown, of course they could always assign Maggio to some veteran's bill just to build up his report card.
Of course.
You know, I always thought, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, because I thought that 501c19 veteran charities weren't supposed to be involved at all politically.
Right, and they are not. And technically, we hold no position. We don't endorse nor oppose either party. As a VFW member, we don't. However, we do support any legislature regarding veterans. Regardless of what side it originated from.
Sure.
It's a veterans bill. It's a veterans bill. And personally, I'm very excited to see park benches being named. That's great. Or putting a plaque on a bridge. Fantastic. My concern is education benefits. My concern is that these guys aren't getting stripped of their retirement pay because it's being offset by their VA payment. You know, and that's a problem. That's something that needs to be dealt with. There's many issues out there that we will address, but politically, we don't really endorse nor oppose anybody. Do a lot of our members do that? Of course.
You know, I can remember sitting with Chris Brown on so many occasions when he would tell me, Mike, I just, if there's something that's really that important, I just put it in their ear and let the majority party take advantage, because if I bring it up, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, right. And that's a sin. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. But that's where and that's become actually a tool, to where before there was at least communication across the line. There's no communication now. Like, it's very, we could talk all day about that. But yeah, legislatively has been, my main concern. I've been involved long enough with a member, Bill Thompson from Bergen County, who's been doing this for many, many, many years. I'm his successor. I've watched a lot of things start initially, get sponsored, get carried through, and get passed. That's an exciting feeling to see something that you've worked on actually pass to benefit veterans, especially my children who are going to utilize those benefits. It's kind of exciting to see that I'm doing the right thing. And just like you, it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding what we do. And you try to explain that feeling to somebody, you just can't. You can't explain it to them.
Yeah.
They don't quite understand it unless they know of somebody. I mean, regardless of your family members all being active. I mean, you've got a large military family as well. What you do is really second to none. We're very grateful for that, honestly, because a lot of this stuff doesn't get done without advocates like yourselves out there who aren't veterans pushing for us.
Yeah, being a young military guy, relatively speaking.
Oh, him?
Brian, do you have any political aspirations?
Absolutely none.
No. You know, it's funny. For years, and Al and I would talk about it all the time. I always have acted behind the scenes. I would give to candidates. Party never really mattered to me. If I thought there was someone who was going to help my family, I've just had no problem. I don't care what party you're at.
Sure.
I have enough skeletons in my closet that I was always afraid to run.
Yeah.
But you know what I found out after watching someone like Chris Brown run? It doesn't matter anymore whether you have skeletons in your closet, because if you don't, they're
going to create them. You're right.
You know?
You are
And
right.
so
He's a perfect example.
it's really, I always said when I was on public radio and guys like Paul Garrity or different young veterans, especially if we had a great, Stockton has a great veterans
Sure they
program
do.
out there.
Absolutely.
Probably top 5 in the country.
Certainly.
And those young guys coming through, getting their degrees, they're smart. They put their life on the line. They served this country. And to listen to how sad it was that they wouldn't take that shot at running for public office because they didn't want their family to see them vilified for, just for political.
Well, did you look down in Texas to see all the young guys running for Congress for Republican congressional spots? They're all young vets. They're all Special Force vets who have been involved, who want to make a difference. So I think we're starting to see a lot of young veterans run. I mean, I would. I'm close to retirement, and Mike, I'm looking forward to it. But I think we're seeing a lot of new young soldiers coming home and getting politically active. And like I said, Texas is a perfect state where they've got several young guys running to upend some big seats.
Yeah, I would love to see you throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah, my
know?
wife would love to hear you say that too.
Yeah, you live in Egg Harbor Township, so.
Yeah.
You know,
And I generally care. I genuinely care about our veterans and their families and that they're taken care of. It bothers me. It keeps me up, and I'm sure, as it does you, it tugs at your heart. And you can't do what you're doing daily
right.
just because you like to do it. It doesn't work that way. There's something else. Do you mind if I throw a plug out here for our essay contests?
Go ahead and talk
Okay.
about it, Brian.
The VFW every year, Mike, does essay contests. One is for high school students, and the other one is for grades 6 through 8. The high school one is called the Voice of Democracy Essay, and the topic is America, where do we go from here? The deadline is October 31st. There's a $30,000 national prize that they can receive, and in fact, the New Jersey candidate 3 years ago made it to number 3, and I think he walked out with close to $35,000 that night in his hand. Not including the money he got within his post and his district and the state. This is just nationally. It's a fantastic program. A lot of money involved for students. The 6th through 8th grade is the Patriots Pen Essay. How can I be a good American is the topic. That's a $5,000 award nationally. Locally, there's, again, more money involved. But these checks will be given, they'll be kept at the office. And when the student gets to college, they just call the office. We send it right to the school form, and it's taken care of. And then they don't touch. It goes directly to the school. There's nobody paying taxes on anything. And I'm not sure how that works anyway with the taxes. With that, you would probably be better at that. And the website for those applications is www.vfw.org/community/youth-and-education.
And what's the age for those?
The Voice of Democracy essay, Mike, is grades 9 through 12. And the Patriots Pen is 6th grade through 8th grade. Wow. And again, that topic is how can I be a good American? I love doing these. Mike, if you read some of these that some of these kids are putting in, some of these essays, it'll give you goosebumps. Because you think we're losing our kids, we're losing our youth. They have no foundation of history or veterans, and a lot of them do. A lot of them really do, and they're fantastic to read. So
Just a little plug too. The Voice of Democracy, the $30,000 that is given to the winner, is a donation by one person. It doesn't come out of the fund of the VFW. That is donated by one person, $30,000.
That's really
And he does it every year.
yeah.
Now, how does somebody get involved? What
With this essay, they could either
can you forward that to me?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll have it here, and I'll be able to.
yeah, sure.
When's it end? When's that
October 31st is a deadline. You can go to any VFW post and pick up an application, or you can just go to vfw.org/community/youth and education.
Now, do you have to be a veteran's child to
No, you do not.
participate? Okay.
No, you do not. No. And we'll help you. You know, if there are any questions coming through after this, please give me a call, Mike, and we'll make sure that they're taken care of. But I'll forward you all the information as well.
I appreciate that. No, go ahead.
I think I got an application in my truck a couple.
Okay. All right,
Good.
good. And there's also another, the Student Veteran Association for the VFW has a legislative fellowship for veterans who are home going to school full time. It's a paid position. You know, you'll be living in Washington. They take care of your education there, and when you get out, you're going to do some work for the VFW, some legislative work. It's been a fantastic program. A lot of the SVA fellows have actually moved on to staff positions in Congress, or they were actually running for Congress themselves. So that's also available. It's all on www.vfw.org.
You know, about, I would say it's got to be 3 years ago, maybe even 4. I was at an awards banquet over at Blue Heron. They were honoring Marco Polo Smigliani. And there was some kind of scholarship program. And I was president of the Legion Riders at the time, and went to another friend of mine there, Steve Wolicki. If you know Steve,
Sure,
was
yeah.
the assistant veterans, Bob Frollo's assistant.
Right, yes, VSO.
Steve passed about 6 months ago, very sad. But at the time, I went to Steve and I said, Steve, maybe the riders ought to think about doing some kind of a scholarship program. And as president, I was so busy, I didn't want to be the one to be involved with everything. So Steve took it, ran with it, and he ended up, they went to the point where they didn't know how to get it out there. Everything was drawn up. And they came to me, and I said, well, I think you ought to go to guidance counselors in every high school.
Yeah.
And submit the paperwork, and and let them get it out to the students. Oh no, Mike, I think we want to do it through the posts. So I said, well, how far out you're reaching? They said, well, let's just start Atlantic County American Legions. So just to tell you just how difficult it brought Vet Rock right back up to the forefront.
Oh my
right?
gosh, Mike.
I call a meeting at the January meeting that at the American Legion was the commanders meeting, where all the commanders from all the legions would go to Summers Point that month. So I figured, well, that'd be great. I called the woman up who was county commander, set up to let us talk there, so we did it, And do you know, we told them right out that no post would have to worry about one penny. Everything would go through American Legion Riders Post 352. And Russell, at the time, fought it.
Smith?
It was amazing.
Robinson.
Yeah.
Russell Robinson.
He was one of the ones that was at the meeting that put down what we were doing with Vet Rock also. So what we just knocked that out. All the commanders went with Russell, so they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't support it. So what we ended up having to do, and finally we got it to work, we went to the guidance counselors and got it into all the schools in Atlantic County. Next year, I believe it'll be in Atlantic and Cape May County.
Oh, excellent. Good. Fantastic. Fantastic.
First year, we gave out 4 $1,000 scholarships. Last year, we gave out 5 $1,000 scholarships, and the Umasella family that owns Universal Supply has a Umasella Foundation, and they gave $5,000 to our scholarship program. And when you think of what it takes to help, like VFW gets $30,000 from one person every year. That's just so commendable.
That's for one state. You got 53 states.
That's
or
just
districts.
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's great to see it working. Now, one of the things, and the reason I brought this up with the American Legion is because I always feel, and you've worked at the state level, so you could say, "Oh, Mike, you're wrong." I don't think I am.
Let's see how honest I'll be.
But I think the biggest problem with helping veterans are veterans. I think that at the state level, we just can't come up with the state commanders agreeing on anything, whether it's ego, whatever it is. I just doesn't make sense to me.
Right,
and you were there, Brian. You were. What's it like at that level?
And I've said this from the very beginning. I said it before I even started running many years ago, is that my whole point is to get us all together. Regardless of what organization we belong to, we're all veterans with the same goals. So why are we attacking one objective from 10 different positions? Why don't we join together on this? Unfortunately, the COVID again shut everything down to where there wasn't much we could even do together. However,
they should have let you serve another year.
Didn't even come up. Yeah, didn't even come up. Would I have taken it? Yeah. In being in a position like that, you don't get the opportunity to get into tangible work within veterans. It's kind of difficult to do. It's a business. It's a business. It doesn't have many business transactions, but it has to be treated like such. So it's kind of difficult to be able to have your hand in the cookie jar, but at the same time be running around, and putting on dog and pony shows is a little difficult. So it was very rewarding doing what I did to see how the organizations actually work and to see the hard work that people put in. Our quartermaster is just, Ken Hageman is unbelievable. I mean, it's 24/7 for him. 24/7. He puts in more work than anybody I could imagine. Unbelievably bright, very sharp, and very involved. And he's certainly been an asset to this organization, department-wise and nationally. He's been a big asset. He's fantastic.
I have a reason that I feel the way I do. It's a shame. One of the projects that I took on, and I'm sure 1991, they formed the Agent Orange Act. It covers all in-country, all Vietnam veterans were covered in 1991. And then inexplicably in 2001, Congress changed the rules and took out the Blue Water Navy veterans.
Right.
And I was doing a couple shows, and a guy came on my show from Pennsylvania. His name was John Bury, B-U-R-Y. He was a 20-some year Navy veteran. He was on an aircraft carrier in the China Sea during the war, and never saw in country. He was now, at the time he came to our show, it was, Steve Callender, who was president of Tropicana.
Yeah, the name, but I don't know him.
Great guy. He loves veterans. he actually put the guy up for the weekend with his wife at the Trop. Appeared on the show. The guy is now suffering his 6th Agent Orange related cancer. And it's very sad.
It is sad.
And I said, John, let me work on this. And he said, Mike, you got to get in touch with the guy. His name was, he was a Navy commander, John Wells. And he was from New Orleans. And we reached out to John. He came on the show, and he's just like, Mike, they're not moving. So it was like Veterans Day 3 years ago, and we always have Veterans Day breakfast at Mainland Regional. Joe Carney set up this program and invited all the veterans that wanted to attend. And I was president of the Riders at the time, so Congressman LeBiondo was there. So after the breakfast was over, I got Congressman aside and I said, Congressman, I don't understand this. Can you please explain to me why House bill, this, Senate bill, why aren't they moving? He says, well, they're the Agent Orange bills. I said, yeah. He says, well, I'll tell you exactly why. He says they've both gone through the House and Senate and have passed. They're sitting there and they're waiting for the national commanders of all of the veterans, DAV, Legion, VFW, Vietnam Veterans of America. There's 5 that he mentioned. He says, we're just waiting for a consensus for them to prioritize what they want us to push through.
Yeah.
He says,
Yes.
Mike, they got 2 months. It's been 2 years. If it doesn't it gets tabled, and then you have to start over again.
Right.
And sure enough, it happened again.
Yeah.
And these poor Blue Water Navy veterans are out there suffering. And, one of the things I've come to realize, and it's a sad thing, and I really believe it, and that is that the government would rather you die than help you.
Of course.
Yeah,
You're
they
merely
really
a figure.
would.
Yeah.
It's sad because in Australia, every single one of their Navy is covered for Agent Orange.
Right.
You don't have to fight for it. It's automatic. If you have, there's the same list of diseases.
Right.
And if you have one of these, it's just, boom, you get it.
Yes. Yeah.
Not in this country.
No, I mean, this should never have taken. I recall before I was even a member of the VFW, a neighbor of ours who was in Vietnam got very sick, and he died. And we found out later that he actually died from Agent Orange, and we were really unaware at that time as to what it really was, but it was Agent Orange, and he was posthumously rewarded for financially for stuff. I don't want to say his name. He's our old neighbor from the. But going back to the Blue Water Navy bill, I mean that's already paid out quite a bit of claims. They had 45,000 claims within a day. They paid out $900 million in retroactive pays. 900. If they hadn't done with this in the first place, one, you'd probably saved many lives by being held accountable and doing what you're supposed to do as the VA.
Well, John Barry, after he was on the show, we were able to get Congressman LeBiondo to contact the congressman in PA, and on a case-by-case basis, you could get people covered, and they were able to. And I think that was like October of, say, 2015. And then on New Year's Eve of 2016, he passed.
Right. Okay.
So his family was able to recoup some,
Good.
but it's just sad to have to
It
fight
is
like
sad.
that.
And here we are again. Now we're doing the same thing with the burn pits. The same exact thing is happening. People are dying, and the government's like, "Well, sorry." They're turning their backs on it.
The fallout of all this is that they've come to realize that it's now getting into the second and third generation.
That's it. That's right.
These kids have problems.
Yeah.
I had a young girl and her husband sitting in my office. I won't mention their names. And all of a sudden, the girl had a tear in her eye. And what's wrong? And she says, well, you took care of my dad for many years. You were his accountant. And then when you got involved with the riders, you helped him. And his name, I won't say his name because I don't want to.
Right.
But he was a Vietnam vet, ended up with Parkinson's. He got Agent Orange coverage and ended up in a wheelchair and he passed. His bride came from Vietnam. He brought her home with him. Now this young lady's sitting in my office with her husband. I'm like, I didn't understand what was sad about, because we had a great relationship and her father was taken care of, And then she says to me, Mike, we had twin girls born, and one of them has severe birth defects. And the birth defects are definitely to be attributed to the effects of Agent Orange. And they cannot get a thing. They won't recognize anything past the first generation. And to me, it's just so sad that they'd have to fight for it. And it's amazing. Through all of this, when you see what our Vietnam veterans have gone through, that we have been able to build up the best military in the world on volunteers.
Yeah.
In spite of that.
Yeah.
You're
absolutely
So what
right.
do you say today to our men and women that have come home after serving in Iraq and Afghanistan? I know there's a burn pit registry, but are they going to get taken care of?
Yes. Now here's another thing we've been pushing is TAP class. We've been pushing this in Washington. Right now, when you get out of the service, you go through a 5 or 6 day transition assistance class, helping you get out. Well, at that time, you're just ready to go. You're not sitting in class listening to anybody for 5 days. They're cramming it down your throats and kick you out. Well, now we got the bill passed to where, not we, collectively, a bill was passed to extend transition assistance to veterans today. So I think it's up to 10 years that you can receive training. You can receive a load of resources on where to get education or training or anything you may need. Even though you've been out up to 10 years or so, they'll still take care of that now. And I tell my kids every day, you go to medical, you get a copy of your record. You make a copy of it, take a picture of it, do whatever you got to do, but you get a copy of it. Anytime you go into medical, regardless what any reason is, I've told them all, both of my kids, make your own records and keep your own records. And that's really, all I can do for them.
That's so interesting that you say that, because back when we first started the show, we were on a radio, WIBG out in Marmora at the time.
Right.
And a guy who, I was building the Veterans Commerce Center at the time over on the Blackhorse Pike, and my project manager, his name was Ernie Simmons. He was a Vietnam vet, United States Army, and he's sitting here, and we're talking about his service, and he's got these issues that are directly, you could check off, right on that Agent Orange list of illnesses, but they won't cover them because he doesn't have anybody as a witness.
Yes, right.
So what was interesting, though, is that one of our riders from the Legion served with him.
No way.
Yeah,
What are the
called him
odds?
on the phone, and they were able to hook up, and he ended up going in, met with Commander Frollo,
Right.
and ended up getting coverage. But
Wow. That's
the
amazing.
things that the hoops they make you jump through.
It's a sin. It's a sin. I can personally attest to it. I've submitted several claims redundant claims finally got dealt with. But again, it's just over and over and over again. And that's why I tell my kids now, make your copies, make your copies, make your copies. And keep track of everything. Dates, times, friends, make sure you get their contact information. So when they ask you for your witness, you've got them.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. These Blue Water Navy vets, they ask them for copies of their logs. You know.
Yeah, you don't take that stuff home with you. You know, that's silly.
It's just
it's an absolute sin, and as long as we collectively, all the organizations continue to fight together, we'll be okay. You know, I'm very optimistic. You know, our veterans will be taken care of.
Do you feel that they are coming together in a consensus?
I believe so. Again, you know, but now we have these little speed bumps of the parties. You know, we just can't seem to get along regardless. But yeah, I genuinely do. And maybe it's my optimism of perception because I want to believe that. But I believe we do. And I'll tell you what, under our congressman who works for us is unbelievably fantastic with veterans. And I can personally attest to 12 situations where he was just hands-on. With me and a phone call, can you do this? Instantly. He is not afraid to reach out for help for veterans, and he has proven that many times.
Right.
Many times.
Great guy.
I mean, that's my personal opinion. I'm a massive fan, and I'm very grateful for what he does.
I've been very lucky over the last 10 years in my affiliations with the Legion. And this time of year, they got elections coming up. You know, veterans don't want to see you when you're running for election. We want to see you all the time.
Yes.
You know, don't come to our barbecue just because you're up for election.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Norm, when you worked with Brian, you were his chief of staff for the last year. Did you see the Legion and the VFW? Where did it look to you like they were willing to work together?
Sometimes, yes. But then the Legion had their own agenda, and they didn't want to cross over into our agenda. And then some of them would be okay. Like the Stand Down Legion would be happy, but something else, no, we can't do that. You know, we don't have the money, or it always ended up as money. No, we don't have the money. We can't do this. We can't do that. So we just went ahead and did it. But we've asked them many times to join in with us, to do this and do that. Sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll just say, no, we can't do that. And it's like Brad said, his thing during the year was trying to get together, even with the auxiliaries. You know, let's get everybody together, working together, because before everybody was fighting each other. You know, we can't do this, we can't do that. Well, we got to ask these people. They weren't working together. And that's the way it should be. We should all work together to make everything. The more people you have working together, the better off in the long run.
I agree.
You have a lot more power if everybody works together than just a piece here and a piece there. It's better power-wise to have 100 people than it is to have 10 people.
You know, you have 2 children that are active duty military.
Yes.
As active duty military, are they allowed to endorse a candidate?
You know, Mike, I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
a good question.
And my my daughter won't really talk politics with me. I try to broach the subject and egg it on a little bit. We don't really get many conversations going on about it. I think we all agree. I think we're kind of on the same page, though. I'm not quite sure.
You know, it's interesting. Steve Stokes was running for Freeholder a few years back, and I've known Steve a long time. Matter of fact, he was a client of mine. And he calls me on the phone, and he's like, Mike, would you mind if I come on the radio show, talk about my candidacy? I said, I don't have any problem at all, Steve. He says, I know you're not going to endorse me. I said, well, why would you say that? Well, I'm a Democrat. And I'm saying, Steve, if you are just going to follow the party line and you're not going to help veterans, then I probably won't help.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
won't get
Right.
behind you. But if you're willing to get out there and say, I'm going to work for veterans, then I can endorse you.
Yeah.
So he comes on the show. And Bill Butler, Commander Butler, was my co-host at the time. And we talked to Steve, and we said the same thing. Basically, look, Steve, you're not running for president here. You know, you're running for freeholder. If you're going to help us, you know, when I say us, you know, the veterans that I want to help,
Right.
then I can endorse you. You know, went through that show. Then he actually didn't do what he said he was going to do, and I was very unhappy. But it was funny. I received a letter, and that was a Saturday. And on Monday, I got a letter from the Egg Harbor Township Republican Party telling me a copy of the bylaws, and I'm part of the club, and they highlighted this part and said you're not allowed to endorse anyone who's running
Against your party.
someone that we've endorsed. And I said, well, take me off. That's all.
It is what it is.
You know, I thought that was kind of goofy, you know. And, you know, you try to get veterans to run. Steve is a great guy.
Yeah, he is.
Steve, you
He's
know,
very
Smart
busy.
guy too.
Very smart.
Yeah,
He's
and
smart.
one of the things that when he sat here and told the story, I don't know if you guys, Steve was in line in Washington, D.C. on September 11, 2001. They were waiting for a bus to take him. There was like the G20 summit was in a hotel, and they were going there to guard the place when the plane hit the Pentagon. And he helped evacuate that. And to me, he's one of the heroes that day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Amazing.
And he was a fantastic soldier as well. You know, he's very humble about his experiences. He's a fantastic soldier.
Right.
One
And I
of the
believe
best.
he's a BA now, or
Yeah, yes,
something
he
in
is.
the Carpenters
Yes.
Union. I
Oh,
know.
yeah, he's more than a BA.
Yeah, I think he might be.
Yeah, you know, he got hired. Helmet to hard hat program.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yes, he
And I
did.
thought that was
Yes, he
what a
did.
great.
Yep. And he's a sharp guy. I hope he's not listening because I don't want him to ever hear me give him a compliment. But if he is, he's a very sharp guy.
You know, guys, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, I saw
We have this coming up. American Legion Riders Post 352. For those of you who don't know who they are, they're the guys that do a lot of the escorts of our men and women who have passed. Do a lot of funerals. We also do a lot of things for our veterans in need. This Sunday, October 10th, if you get a chance, put that on your calendar. It's our 21st annual Ride for the Vets. It is a motorcycle ride. The ride portion, you would sign up at Atlantic County Harley Davidson at 10 o'clock, and you would hit like 4 places before you come back to the post. The first 100 people get T-shirts that show up at AC Harley Davidson. If you don't want to participate in a ride, and we get a few hundred every year that don't, you're welcome. The post opens at 1 p.m., 1 to 5 p.m. Live music by the Motts Creek Pickers, which is a great local band, has a great following. We'd love to have you come out. There's great food that's provided by the Back Bay Barbecue. Letty Daggett, a United States Army veteran, does our catering for that event. Free draft beer, door prizes, T-shirts, Chinese auction. And I'd love to have you come out.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. As I showed you, it's already in my calendar.
You know, also that day, at every one of our events, usually around 2:30, we do some kind of a ceremony or something, and we got something that I can't put over the air because I can't let
Don't
people coming would know. Yeah. But we have a nice little presentation for that day.
Oh, excellent.
And if you need any information, Tom Dixon, who's now president of the Legion Riders, he can be reached at 609-839-9568. And if you are a veteran's family and a loved one has passed, he's a veteran or she's a veteran, and you would like the Legion Riders to escort or provide a flag line, we would be more than glad to help you out. And once again, Tom Dixon can be reached at 609-839-9568. And his email, pretty easy to remember, jarhead, he's a Marine, jarhead0358@gmail.com. And if you miss any of these numbers that we give out, whether it's something our guest is talking about, Brian with the VFW essay, just email me and I'll make sure that you get what you need. We don't want you to miss anything. We have another event coming up, Brian. I don't know if you're aware of this, but every year the Longport American Legion in the fall has what they call Wounded Warrior Week.
Okay.
Commander Larry Passatrilli, who's been running this for years, that's American Legion Post 469, is going to have their 10th annual Wounded Warrior Week, and it runs from September 22nd through the 29th. And this year, on September 22nd, arriving from their home in Crestview, Florida, will be U.S. Army Major Todd Berrios. Todd and his wife, Maricela. Todd actually was in the Marines originally, and then went into the Army in Special Forces, and he was actually teaching at one point and went back. He became an officer and decided to he wanted to qualify as a what they call Special Forces qualification course. He got through. In 2003, he became a Special Forces weapons sergeant and was deployed to Afghanistan, where he was injured.
That's great.
Shot a couple times.
So that's in Longport on the 22nd?
Yeah. So what happens that day, and the reason I want to announce this, around 5 p.m., they meet at the Weiner Plaza on Wellington Avenue.
Okay.
That Wellington runs between Dorset and the Black Horse Pike there. And at the Weiner Plaza, they meet there. Now, he has no idea, unless he happens to be listening, he has no idea that he's doing anything but coming down, getting a weekend at a beachfront home in Longport.
Okay.
But they pick him up in a regular vehicle, like with Legion stuff on. They bring him there, and they have a beautiful white limo, convertible, and we do a motorcade. The Legion Riders and police officers on motorcycle from different communities.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they line the streets. It's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Ventnor Heights, Ventnor proper, Margate, Longport, right along Atlantic Avenue from Ventnor Plaza, and it's really great. And
that's great. Like,
you
that's
know,
great.
love to see you come out. Maybe you can contact Larry Passatrilli, the commander there. Maybe the VFW could put a vehicle in the motorcade.
Sure. Whatever you can do to help.
It would be great. All the fire departments in the area, Ventnor, Margate, Longport, are all participating.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we'll definitely. I'll certainly be there for sure.
I make one thing on. We have a 3/4 ton at our post, an Army 3/4 ton, 1954. If we could probably put that in, if it would.
We'll call
You
that.
show up, you'll be in it.
Okay, and also,
Oh yeah, it's great.
the people that are coming are staying at a classmate's of mine house in Longport, Jim Leeds. his house. That's where they're staying.
Well,
So I know that.
they just had their 1956 high school reunion. They
Right.
all get together from all over the country. They still get together. How many people do you have this year?
Well, we had 40 this year.
I can't get 10 at my high school reunion. And he graduated, 116 years ago, almost 117 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Big high school reunion.
What I'll do, Brian, I'm going to copy you on this email.
Yeah, please.
So you'll have all the information. And if you want to reach out, he has his email and contact phone number.
Okay. Fantastic. And I'll pass that on to the VFW state commander also.
It is so neat.
For sure.
And once they get to Longport, they bring him up on this, what do you call, covered, can't think of the word. It's not like a stage,
Like a gazebo or
but
something.
they present him with gifts
Yeah, yeah.
for him and his family for the week.
Well,
And the home that they stay in is gorgeous. It's beautiful.
yeah. That's fantastic.
You know, Ocean City does one in the spring also. The Legion in Ocean City. Pretty neat.
Excellent. That's fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. That's something like in a community like Brigantine where the VFW should be reaching out to the American Legion. They're a block and a half away from each other. And say, listen, we'll offer a veteran this week. You guys pick up a veteran next week, and there's 2 weeks of two veterans.
You know,
it's just common sense.
when I look back at Vet Rock, that's what started all the problems. Was a issue
Yeah.
between the District 16 commander and one of the
Yes.
VFWs.
And that's very unfortunate. That's
And,
very
you know,
unfortunate.
I got an email from this commander of the VFW, and he said to me, "Mike, is this guy going to participate in it?" And I said, "No." I said, "Of course, if anybody wants to help, I'm not turning them away. What's the
Yeah.
problem?" He didn't tell me what the problem was. He just ignored it. And there was a big problem, and that's where it all started. And it's a shame. We should always be working together.
Absolutely.
It does not make
Absolutely. Again,
sense.
the petty jealousies get involved, clouds our view, and then we lose track. And listen, I understand the VFW may not be able to say we are veterans of foreign wars for another 50 or 60 years. You know, we're losing members astronomically, just as the Legion is, just as DAV.
Right.
We're all losing members.
Well, you know,
Eventually something's going to have to happen.
when I was just getting started advocating for veterans, I had a friend of mine. He was a Vietnam veteran. He was a tunnel rat. He refused to talk about anything concerning the war. And I said, "Come on out to the Legion." You know, he said, "No, all they want to do is tell war stories." And I got to say, the Legion, our Legion, isn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people there that just want to help each other. You know,
That's it.
you
You're
guys
exactly
have
right.
turned around the Cardiff VFW. It's
Doing
become
fantastic.
a great place.
Well, they did it. You know, we all did it together. Yeah, they're off to a fantastic. They're doing very well. You know, I've gone back to Brigantine. I was a member in Cardiff for a few years. I've gone back to Brigantine because that's where I started, and Cardiff is doing very, very well.
The Brigantine VFW?
Yeah.
Is Mario still involved there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, Mario Perucci, Al and I are really good friends.
Mario is second to none. If he's out there, what's up, Mario? Good guy.
He said he was going to listen.
Is he?
Yeah, he said it.
You
Better
know,
be listening.
Mario was when the first he was an advisor sent to Vietnam to teach the South Vietnamese how to use mortars. So that's what
Really?
and
I
it
didn't
took
know
a long
that.
time for them to give him Vietnam veteran status. I mean, there was quite a
Yeah.
few killed back. He was there, I think, 62 and 63.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, Al and I had Mario as a guest on the show, and I played the song. I don't know if you ever heard the song by Big and Rich, 8th of November,
Oh, yeah, sure.
talked about Quezon, and
Yeah.
and Mario just broke down. And, it was just a great show, and it brought back some memories to him about his service. And yeah, Mario's a really good guy.
He is. Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is. He's fantastic, and he's leading that post. He's leading that post really well, and he's exploring new things. He wants to expand. He wants to bring more veterans in. He wants more things for the community, and nothing but excited to see him take off this year.
Yeah.
And he was an All-American commander last year, I might say. No, he was All-State commander last year. Just missed the All-American by a very, very minimal thing, and that's a big accomplishment for a commander.
Yeah.
Very difficult to achieve, and he's just a great guy.
Right. He, I'm gonna have to reach out to him now. Get Mario to come
I
back
think
on the show.
Last time I heard him, he said he was going to give you a free dinner at the Post on Friday nights. Well, that's the last I heard from him. Yeah.
You're hoping listening.
He a couple times back in the day, when Bill Butler and I were together on the show, we would go down every Memorial Day weekend. We would ride to D.C.
Okay.
Spend the weekend Rolling Thunder Rally. And Mario and what was Joe's last name?
Palillo.
Joe Palillo?
Joe Palillo.
No.
I don't know.
The committeeman from Mays Landing. His son's a DJ.
Not ringing a bell with me.
Did our show for years.
Oh.
I can't think. He was a freeholder.
Oh my God.
Risley?
No, he passed
Oh,
away.
Joe.
He's a great guy. Oh, my
Nichols, Joe Nichols.
Oh, Joe Nichols.
Well, Mario and Joe
Yes.
would take over in the studio for us, and Bill and I would go to the Vietnam Wall, and we would do interviews and play them back here. It was unbelievable shows, and Mario does a great job.
Yes, he does.
Does a
Yes, he
great
does.
job.
Absolutely does. I'm excited to see what happens at Brigantine. I think he's got some big plans.
He's a no-nonsense guy.
Yeah.
No nonsense.
Yeah. And, one of the, were you at the event, the 9/11? I know you were in Atlantic City, right? For
Yes.
their 9/11. Did you happen to catch the one in Absecon?
No, I did not. I think that was later in the afternoon.
It was. It started
Yeah.
around 3.
I heard that was fantastic, though. I heard that was great.
They did a great job.
Good. They always do. Absecon always does a great job.
Yeah,
The
we
Legion
stood a
and
flag line.
The VFW.
What a mistake that was.
Long.
An hour and a half in that heat in a flag line. I thought I was going to die.
It was hot.
But
though.
it was so nice. And that's a beautiful monument.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. They did a
Yeah.
great job with that.
Yeah.
Really did. Absolutely.
There's a few other things I wanted to cover here. We got the Wounded Warrior Week. The
Okay.
Legion Riders ride for the vet.
Okay, I have something here, if you don't mind, real fast. This is actually from National, from the VFW National sent this out regarding, this came out, mind you, a few weeks ago, but they're still working on donations and collections. Now, this is coming from Patrick Murray, who's the Director of National Legislative Services for the VFW in the Washington office, and he says, now that the airlift is underway, mind you, this is several weeks old, many families are coming to the States. One of the groups we're working with in D.C. is helping to coordinate assistance for some of the Afghan families coming here over the next few weeks. Now, remind you, a lot of these families are the interpreters, or those who assisted us and our soldiers over there.
Right.
And if anybody doesn't quite understand the relationship of the Afghani interpreter and a soldier, please reach out to a soldier and ask. Because they will tell you that interpreter most likely saved their lives on several occasions, and they all became very close. So back to this, in D.C., they're working to coordinate assistance for some of the Afghan families coming here over the next few weeks, and Joint Base McGuire and Dix is going to be one of the areas that's going to be receiving many of these families, and this group is looking to link up with veteran organizations or individuals of the surrounding area to gather support for things like clothing and food drives. So if anybody is interested in that, I have his phone number here also. His phone number is 202-608-8365, and his name is Patrick Murray. He's the Director of National Legislative Services with the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So that was my PSA.
That's
you, sir.
interesting that they have these families here, because for a while there it looked like they were
Like they were just-
abandoning them.
Yeah, I guess they got a lot of them here. I know Fort Bliss, where my son is out of, they're taking on, Afghan families as well. They got a whole community
Bliss,
already set
right?
up. Yeah, Fort Bliss,
I
Texas.
thought that Fort Dix was supposed to be utilized.
Yeah,
for,
Fort Dix is one. I think they got several bases. Dix, Bliss.
That's good.
Not sure the other one, but that's why they're asking for donations and anything people can offer to help regarding the families of Dix.
What I like to do, in recognition of the 13 military service men and women that perished in Afghanistan, and in recognition of the past September 11th, to honor those that have lost their lives, I'm going to play this taps. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank
You
you.
know,
Just to
We used-
reiterate a little bit, I think it's now up to 14. I think another one died, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I
Wow.
heard. So it could be.
sad, very sad. Back when we were on public radio, when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, we used to do that Department of Defense report and play taps
Oh, okay.
in recognition of.
That is nice. Thank you.
Have you guys been to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Homedale?
No, not in Homedale. No, I haven't.
Never been to
I've
that
heard
one?
of it, and I've known events that have gone. I haven't been there.
Up there, and I've used to go every September for the Ride for Freedom that Rolling Thunder would do. But they also have a memorial to every New Jersey resident that died due to Agent Orange up there.
Strictly Agent Orange.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, besides the Vietnam memorial, they have this other.
That's up in Homedale. No, I haven't. Have you ever been to it?
No, never been to that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice pavilion there. Matter of fact, I believe that it was designed by a Vietnamese. Started in 1980, completed in 1995. The memorial is located on the grounds of the Garden State Art Center. I think now it's the PNC
Yes, BNC
Bank Art Center. Yeah. Very nice. Do you ever
Next, I'd
get?
like to go.
Have you ever been to the Vietnam Wall in D.C.?
I have. Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
we go every Memorial Day until the last year when
Okay.
they kind of cut Rolling Thunder.
Right.
Wouldn't
right.
let them
right,
use
right,
the
right.
Pentagon parking
Right.
lot.
Okay.
So the AMVETs are supposed to be taking that ride over, but it's really nothing like it used to be. But it was so interesting to go to the wall on
Yeah.
Memorial Day, and guys that served together in different units would come there and like have like a reunion at the
Yeah.
wall and recognize their comrade.
That's got to be
Unbelievable.
difficult. That's got to be difficult. I mean, that's just. I was in the Navy, and I don't pretend to be G.I. Joe. I was in the Navy on a ship. I'm not going to say that I was forward deployed with boots on the ground. I don't understand what a lot of these veterans feel when they get together like this. I understand the camaraderie. I've lost a very good friend of mine who was a pilot who flew right off the end of the ship and right into the drink. We lost him relatively fast, but I was never on the ground. I don't ever claim to be. So I appreciate those feelings that guys get together, and it's nice to see him do that. I could imagine being there to watch that.
Unbelievable.
Couldn't imagine, Mike. You got to take me with you when you go.
On Friday night, if you ever get the opportunity, Memorial Day weekend, Friday evening, they have a candlelight vigil.
Yeah, I knew that.
And they actually walk with the Gold Star Mother.
Yeah.
Usually Artie Mueller, who started Rolling Thunder back in 1995, he leads the procession to the center where they put the candle,
Okay.
and unbelievable.
I bet that's a moving service. I could imagine.
It's sad what's happened down there. That I think they just wanted to get the spikes out of the city.
Yeah.
The last time I went, we had 800,000 motorcycles.
Wow. That's
If you've ever been to the Pentagon,
Yeah.
those parking lots, we took up two full parking lots. When being part of Rolling Thunder back in the day, we parked up toward the front. And at noon, they would start the parade out. And we would go through. Some guys would want to stay for the ceremonies. It was really too much.
Right.
Sometimes because you get to the parking lot at 6 a.m. If you happen to be an escort where you have a Gold Star Mother on the back, you have to get there even earlier. And sometimes it's 80, 90 degrees on that blacktop.
Yeah.
And they'd have fire engines come in with the water towers to
Just to cool the
cool
streets
people
down,
off.
really?
This is pretty cool. And we'd leave the parking lot, say 12:30. We'd go around, get to the mall where they have all the speakers, and then we double back to our hotel in Crystal City, which is you'd have to
That's
pass.
where I stay at the Crystal City Hyatt. That's where I always stay.
Right, you'd
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah.
to pass the Pentagon parking lot.
Yes. Yeah.
We'd get in there, grab our stuff, head back out. 3, 4 in the afternoon, they're still coming out of the
Yeah, I
parking
can
lot on a
imagine.
motorcycle.
What an unbelievable event.
And
That'll be back.
Tim Chambers
Yeah.
stands in the middle of that parade, right in the beginning, saluting the
Everybody
Marines in
goes
uniform.
Really.
The whole thing, the whole time. They call
Wow.
him the saluting Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
cool-
that's fantastic. Stuff like that, if we don't continue that and keep that up, especially, exposing those kind of events to our youth, we're we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Honestly, I think we're going to be in a world of trouble if we don't start educating our youth on veterans.
It's horrible. We used to talk about it around Veterans Day. We used to have Veterans Day off.
Sure, yes. Yeah, who didn't?
So we figured, okay, if you're going to have the kids in school on Veterans Day, at least teach them what it's all about.
Yeah.
And this one, we were leading up to Veterans Day. It's about 2015. And some students would call up, and they weren't doing anything. Some don't even know what Veterans Day is all about.
That's true.
Oh, of course.
So we made such a big stink about it that Al's brother, who ran the Eagle Academy for Egg Harbor Township, he got a bus. They chartered a bus with their students, and the veterans from the VFW, got them on the bus and took a ride to D.C. and educated the students.
Well, that's
That was
that's
nice.
awesome. That's absolutely
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
That really is.
And,
That's
and
so
some
important.
some of the schools actually bring veterans into the school system. Pleasantville does
Yeah.
it. Atlantic
Yeah, we do
City.
it, Brigantine.
And the
You
thing
know.
is, I mean, it's just, I get frustrated. I get really frustrated talking about it. Like this essay contest is so important. I think it's great that the kids do it and they earn some money for college. But the research that they have to do to write these topics is nothing. It leaves them no choice but to educate themselves. And that's where I believe a lot of these kids, when they start to write these essays, they flip the coin. They start to understand what a veteran is, what they've done, what
Right.
they've served, what they sacrificed, because they wouldn't know any other way. They certainly don't talk about it in schools. You're not going to hear it in your home anymore. You can't turn on the news and hear anything good about anybody anymore. So where do these kids, get it?
A lot of high schools won't even let recruiters in.
No,
We
you're right.
can't get in just to drop off an essay, just like you said. Some of them we can't even get into.
Let me ask you a question, Brian.
Uh-oh.
If you were to attend Egg Harbor Township High School commencement exercise,
Mm-hmm.
not all the kids are going to college.
Sure.
What would you tell these students about a career in the military?
You never hear that either. You never hear that either. There's so much out there. There's so many opportunities. It's not like you go to boot camp, you get thrown camis, and you get thrown somewhere. That's not how it works. There's so much more to it now. They're so involved in educating the soldier, the sailor, the airman, the marine. You get educated. When I was out to sea, we had college professors on board with us in the Middle East, in the Persian Gulf, and I'm taking classes. The GI, there's so much available. You learn a trade. Not only do you learn a trade, but ultimately the main gift I think the service gives you is the gift of accountability. You learn how to be accountable for anything that you put your name on. And that's something I never understood as a kid. I never knew that. But if my name's on it and this looks like a piece of trash, well then guess what Brian Weiner is. So that's one thing I've learned in the service. And a little pride in yourself, and taking care of yourself. And I think a lot of people come home with a lot of rewards from the service. And I believe a military experience and what the military offers you far supersedes what a college degree will give you today. That's my opinion. If you use it properly, I believe that to be true, because you can go in the service and get your degree. Like my daughter, who's an example, who's starting her senior year in college for her bachelor's degree, and she's still active duty in the reserves.
Now, I believe if you're active duty and you go to school while you're active duty, I don't think that counts toward the GI Bill.
It does not. It's
that,
tuition assistance. There's
That's
only so
great.
much they give you, so she has to pay a lot of it out of her pocket. And we as a family all pitch in and help her. But a majority of her college, while she's in, is completely covered. And then she's got the GI Bill, and she gets out. The friendships, the camaraderie. I've been all over the Mediterranean and Europe. I would never have done that as a brigantine kid. What would I be doing over there? And I don't just take those experiences and be like, they were great. I'm grateful for them. I genuinely am grateful for what I got in the service.
I always want to, if they're listening, I want to reach out to my daughter and my son-in-law who's serving in the Coast Guard. He just got sent to Jacksonville, Florida, and any day now we're due to have our 15th grandchild.
Oh my gosh.
So,
God bless
wow.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, my wife's going. She'll be leaving here in a few days to head down there, and I'll be doing the bachelor's thing at home for a little bit.
You're going to try.
Guys, I really want to thank you so much for taking time out from your families to be here. Brian, really appreciate all that we were able to do together when I was president of the Legion Riders, and working together on some things to bring about a better world for our children, because that's what it's all about, is to leave
100%.
this world a better place than we got it. And
Yeah.
it's very sad what's happening today. And Norm, you're just out of the what we consider the greatest generation, but you were a part of that coming out of the Korean War and into the Vietnam War. And for some people, consider that a dark period in this country. But you certainly have taken the time to help your fellow veteran, and I really appreciate all that you've done over the years.
Yeah, well, to me, I've been, like you say, through all the couple of wars I've seen. I haven't been in it, but I think since the Vietnam War, this country has come a long way to helping the veterans. Not like the veterans from the Vietnam came in, they just shoved them off, and that, they gave them everything. They gave them the finger and all that stuff. Nowadays, they're almost praised. The hospital, the VA, I go to the hospital, VA every now and then, every week, and they treat me like gold. I mean, I go there, I need an MRI. I'm at the Delmarva MRI, boom, I'm in and out like it was nothing. They've come a long way in the last, I think, 20 or 30 years.
Agreed.
I agree with you.
And that's been the hard work of veteran advocates like yourself. That's how these things get accomplished.
Yeah, and you know what? There's still a long ways to go, and hopefully there's people behind you guys following in your footsteps that are willing to take that stand, because it's absolutely necessary. When you think of all of the men and women that served in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places, in other wars that American people don't even know about,
not at all.
Our veterans are going to need a lot of help.
Oh, they are. They absolutely are. With what they've seen today, and again, they're a different generation from the greatest generation. They're just a different people. It's a different war. Yeah, they absolutely need help. Absolutely need help. And for those who think that they don't, that the system is fine and there's more than enough, you're absolutely foolish and uneducated. So anybody who believes that, you can take my words and do whatever you want with them, but that's there's a lot of room for improvement. But I think we've come a long way, like you said, Mike.
Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
Thank you, Norm.
Thank you.
Tune in next Saturday, 3 to 5. We're having a special show with our Atlantic County Crime Stoppers, where past Sheriff Frank Ballas will be in here, and a couple other members of the, if you don't think it's important enough as a veteran, you should tune into that show. April Kaufman was a big advocate for our veterans, and it was through the help of these people that we were able to get justice for her. So look forward to seeing you all next Saturday. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.